So what if I told you that one of the biggest, most addictive games in Web3 is about to drop one of the biggest airdrops of 2025? And it's not just a click to claim freebie. This one actually rewards you for playing a game that's incredibly fun. And trust me, I know I'm hooked. So today we have a man on a mission. He's gone from building a game that was downloaded 100 million times to selling it to Ubisoft. That's impressive. And now he's building what could be the next Axie and the gold standard in Web3 gaming. Say hello to Oliver Luffler, as his friends call him Olli, the CEO of VOYA Games and the brains behind CraftWorld. Welcome to DadsGoneCrypto.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for the nice introduction. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. So, Olli, let's kick things off. Everybody, welcome to DadsGoneCrypto. Let's explain to everybody, what is your origin story? How did your journey into the gaming world begin? And how did you lead, how did that lead to building the Idle Miner Tycoon?
Of course, yeah. So I've been a lifelong gamer. I think I started out with Game Boy Pocket back then when I was still a child, and got a gaming PC and played hours and hours. Got some issues with my parents from time to time, but it was always a big passion of mine. And when I started to study computer science, I was then continued to play. I switched over from PC to mobile, played Clash of Clans and all of these great early games that were very successful in the mobile era. And I never thought about developing games. I was more about like playing games. But then at some point, a friend of mine approached me and said, like, "Hey, do you want to build games?" It was like really like this very like easy message, like, "Do you want to build games?" I said, like, "Yeah, why not? I have some time." And so we got together with a few other people and in the students apartment of the friend of mine, and we started building games. First we made a very complex game, super 10 versus 10 multiplayer. It was like doomed to fail, and it failed. But we learned a lot out of it, and then we started to build something very simple, something that we can release very fast and identify like if it actually works. And this was Idle Miner Tycoon, our hit game. And from the success of this game, we could basically bootstrap our whole company. We could hire our first employees from the revenue it generated. And basically went from a student's apartment to a real office, grew very fast to 20 people, moved to Berlin in Germany, and then grew to 100 people in just 2 years. And so
Wow.
it was a very busy time, but very exciting time as well. We learned a lot. And scaled Idle Miner Tycoon, as you said, to hundreds of millions of downloads. And at some point, we were looking for some new partners to join us, and Ubisoft was knocking at the door. And so we thought it's a really great partner, and found a deal with Ubisoft to acquire us in 2020. That was only 4 years after we founded the company. And from there on, we had Ubisoft on our side.
And Olli, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned taking and growing to 100 million downloads? It's an incredible feat. It's, first of all, dealing with 100 staff members. That's another story. But to
Yeah.
actually get people to want to download your game, I think that's the biggest obstacle. Other than is the game really good, and do I enjoy it, and does it have that viral effect? But 100 million is no easy task. What are some of the lessons that you learn from this?
Yeah, I think one very important lesson is no matter how experienced you are, you can never tell if a game is a success or not.
Okay.
So instead of playing or like wasting a lot of development time on something which you don't know is a success or not, it's more like, okay, how can you release something as fast as possible to get some early feedback, to get some early KPIs, some metrics, and then continue to build onwards from there. but only if, of course, there's positive KPIs and feedback. So I think that was one of our biggest learning, that we really learned the hard way, because we were developing this first complex game for a very long time, and then it just failed. Nobody wanted to play it, and with Alumni Tycoon we did exactly the opposite. It took us 2 months for the first version to release on the Play and App Store, and then we got a lot of feedback. We saw people enjoying it, getting a bit addicted, and having so much fun. And from there on, the second learning was like, okay, really listen to the user feedback, to players. That's one of the most important thing, because like you have some people who enjoy your game, and they have a lot of good ideas. They have a lot of good feedback. Use this one to make it even better, and then try to continue shipping fast. So from there on, we did weekly updates. Every week we shipped a new update to Monetization Tycoon, and expanded the game with the help of the players. And I think that was one of the early success drivers. We grew the game, and more users joined, more people having fun. People were enjoying, like saying it one day, hey, this is really like a cool feature to have in the game, and the next week it's already implemented. That got a lot of users really excited, and I think these were some of the very early learnings. Ship fast, listen to user feedback, and then iterate as fast as possible after. It's all about speed, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in 4 years, you guys got acquired, so you definitely learned very fast. So that's traditionally a Web 2 game. Now what caught your interest about a Web 3, and how did you pivot, or why did you want to pivot to using blockchain gaming and enter the wild west of crypto?
Yeah, so we as the founders, we left in 21 the company that got acquired. And yeah, so I had a lot of time. It was Corona time, so you couldn't do a lot of things. So I was looking around what's happening out there. And 2020, summer of 2021 was the time of Axie Infinity, and like it was all over in the news. A lot of players were playing it. So I digged into it, and first I was a bit skeptical to buy NFTs for $1,000 to just access a game. But then I did it, and found out that the game, for me at least, wasn't really fun. So I said like, okay, that's not for me. But I spent already $1,000. But once it made click that I can resell my NFTs that I just bought for, I think it was roughly the same price, I found this was very cool, because I was playing a lot of free-to-play mobile games before, where I also spent some money on, but I always knew like, hey, this will be lost. I will never get back my money, right? And this got me really excited. And so I looked deeper. There was actually established these scholarship models where some investors or players were buying NFTs and renting it out to other players, and then they basically did a revenue share between the tokens that the players earned and the investors. And I also found this quite interesting, because it was basically opening up a whole new ecosystem around the game. So it was not inside the game, right? It's like something that players, investors, traders, whatever you want to call them, like kind of build up on their own. Like there were like these systems established, people were building tools around it, and so on and so forth. And just because these game items, the Axies, were on chain, and everyone can do whatever they want to do with it. And that was the second thing which really excited me. And the third thing was like how engaged the community was. I've never
Yeah.
seen this before. Like the discords were crazy. People were spamming day and night, getting super excited on X, flexing their X's and all of these things. So I thought like, hey, that there's something about it. But then I continued to play all the other games which are out there at the time, and none of them really like kind of were sticky enough for me to continue playing it longer than a few hours. And I thought like,
Yeah.
okay, these games really innovating on the blockchain side and how to use NFTs and tokens, but they might still miss a bit the opportunity to create like really high quality, fun games. And I always thought like, okay, if we can now combine like what they're really innovating on with like kind of creating fun, high quality games that can compete with traditional games, I think then this will open up a whole new market and a lot of players will join. So at some point, a lot of thoughts were running through my head, and I couldn't stop. And I just thought like, hey, I wanna build something in Web3 as well.
I'm going to do a side question here, and in retrospect, because you pivoted to Web3 and you learned along the way, and you kind of see the potential it has. Are you a little bit sad that you sold your previous company to Ubisoft, or because 100 million users, to try and get them into, you have that audience, so to transition them to a Web3, do you think it would have been easier, or it's built in such a way that it's too difficult to pivot to a Web3 game on the old, I'm not going to say legacy system, but let's say the old Web2 system?
Yeah. Yeah. So my opinion is we need to build Web3 from the ground, like Web3 games from the ground
Okay.
up with Web3 in mind and blockchain. We've seen, I think, a couple of games trying to integrate NFTs and tokens into existing games, but none of them were really successful. I think if you really want to innovate, we need to start from scratch, and really try and experiment a lot. I think like with an existing game, you don't want to take too many risks, especially if it's working well and generating a lot of revenue. You don't want to risk losing a lot of players or having a lot of difficulties. But that's something that you need to do. Like when you're starting something new, you need to experiment, try out things. A lot of things won't work. Some things are working, but I think like with an existing game, that's not possible. So yeah, I'm truly thinking about like, okay, how can we build high quality games, but like from with tokens and NFTs and blockchain in mind from the very beginning. I think that's just very important.
Perfect. I think I'll tell you my honest experience in a little bit of when I first was sent the link. I clicked on it. I'll tell you about that a bit later, but
Yeah.
it was quite interesting. But you know, you pivoted to Web3, and you chose a partner, Ronin, right? And they've had their problems in the past. What advantages did they offer you as technically a Web3 startup, and how did it play into your broader vision?
Yeah. So I've been monitoring Ronin for a long time. As I said, like X Infinity was my entry into Web3. I think they definitely built like one of the most successful Web3 games out there. I think X Infinity is still from a user standpoint and what they did back then like unbeaten. And then they switched, like kind of continued to build out the Ronin chain around it and onboarded some other games like Pixels and Fableborn, which all also kind of had managed to get decent traction.
Okay.
And so I knew like that the Ronin team is very good in a go-to-market strategy, but also very good in building a community because they've done it from even before 2021, right? 2021 was the peak, but it's already started, I think, 2019 already to start building community, and the community stayed loyal for such a long time. So they have a very long kind of yeah history about building community and finding loyal players. And they even stayed loyal when they had one of their worst times. I think like if you remember, there was like the $600 million
Yeah,
hack.
615 million. No.
Yeah, so it was really big, but they recovered from it, and the users still stayed loyal. And my only thing that always bugged me was like that it was more or less like a permission chain. Not everyone could go there. Not every protocol was live there. It was like, okay, you need to talk to the Ronin team in order to deploy your game or to deploy a protocol and so on and so forth. And but they basically yeah, made the switch to open Ronin, as they call it. So now it's
Okay.
permissionless. Everyone can build there, and that was happening in February. So I thought, like, okay, now they tick all the boxes, which were important for me, like having a good community, being permissionless, and having a tech that is also working for games on a scalability standpoint. And
And
so we partnered up with them.
and having incredible experience going through all these different curveballs in the industry. All
Yes,
right, so
yeah.
uh, so for the meat of the show, let's dive into CraftWorld. That's what we all here for. What is the core gameplay, and what makes it so sticky and fun? And explain to the audience as if they've never seen this product before. We're going to do a throw over just to go through it, but explain what it is and why it's so sticky.
Okay, yeah. The background story is that an asteroid was crashing into the Earth, wiping out the human race, but then the dinos are reborn. So basically, the other way around, and it was like a few 100 million years ago when the dinos got extinguished. And these little dinos, they're dinos in general don't have a very big brain. They're very clumsy. They need help basically and support from you as a player to rebuild the world and eventually escape it again because it's devastated by this asteroid impact. And so you as a player help them to collect resources. So you will have a mine that produces resources in intervals and basically get like one of the raw resources, which in our case is earth. And from these earth resources, you can basically craft other resources out of them. So you can turn it into mud, then into clay, then into copper, steel, and so on and so forth. So you basically have a lot of resources as materials. And these materials are used to build certain monuments for the dinos. And these monuments require a lot of resources to be built up. So many resources that one single player can't really build them on their own. So the whole community works on building up these structures.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of the core loop in itself. One thing that is very important is that all of the resources that we have in the game, and there's 25 plus, are tradable with each other. So, and you as a player can specialize on the production of certain resources and can then basically sell or buy these resources on an exchange. And all of these trades are basically facilitated through the blockchain, through a decentralized exchange, because all of our 25 plus resources are actually ERC20 20 tokens that you can use to do whatever you want. But the main use case is trading with other players. And that's where it opens up a lot of opportunities and possibilities. I guess we can talk about this in a bit as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the core loop. You basically collect, craft, build, and trade. This is the core loop.
So I'll tell you my experience. So I got this link. And, whenever someone sends a game, you're like, okay, oh, there's a learning curve to a game, right? So I'm like, I don't have time. So like, okay, but I pop open the screen, I go into it. I'm like, now I get a bit nervous because now I'm thinking, all right, what do I need to do? What do I need to read? And then you just start clicking about and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, good, that makes sense. And then something happens. And then it's kind of unraveling the story as you're getting, as you're getting deeper into it. And you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have upgraded there. Maybe I should have added more resources. Okay, let's wait. And there's a time element to it as well. And as you start building, now you're starting to stress that I don't have enough resources. And then just at the right moment, I don't know how you guys got this right, but it's so intuitive and intelligent that this thing pops up. Hey, you got 2%. You can craft 2% at resources at faster rate. You're like, oh, now I'm crafting faster. Then you got these little guys that come in to help you. I'm like, yes, I got helpers. I'm like, I'm creating this. So every step of the way, just when you get to that pain point of this is taking a little bit too long for, obviously you want to accelerate as fast as possible, but the gamification is you got to be smart enough to build in the right way so that you get the resources to upgrade and so forth. But at every step of the way, it unlocks something else, and then that gives you like an extra boost to stay hooked into the game. And then 2 3 hours later, you should be working, you're playing this game. So I must say, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've got on my 32-inch screen, it's got this dedicated little column,
Yes.
and I'm clipping upgrades as we go along. It's super fun, and I love the business side to it as well, because it's not just about clicking all the way through. It's about devising a strategy that best gets you to your goal as quick as possible. And you do learn along the way. It's like, as you, this resource can help you. Yeah. And this, so it's a very clever way. And I think that's also why it's so sticky. So that's just my impression of it, first time impression. And I can see the value of it later on. So that's why I'm eager to keep going and playing. So very, very cool. Very, very sticky.
Yeah, yeah, thanks appreciating it. Yeah, that was exactly our intention. Like, my experience was always with a lot of Web3 games, probably not all of them, but it's like that there's so much effort that you need to put into the game
Yeah.
first before you have fun. So maybe you need to create a wallet, you maybe need to buy certain NFTs or tokens, you need to bridge things, and so on and so forth. And we wanted to kind of make it as easy as possible for someone to start. Like in our game, you just open it and you're in there. You don't need to create an account. You
Yeah.
don't need to create a wallet. You don't need to buy any NFT or something like that, and then get like kind of hooked into the gameplay experience. And then
Yeah.
slowly you basically learn more about it. You learn more also about blockchain and how the trading works and so on and so forth. So we want to do this step by step and not overwhelm the
Yeah.
players themselves. And I think like the what we really want to achieve, like have this very simple core loop, as I said before, like collect, craft, build, but then with like blockchain integration and a few of the meta features we have, it can become quite complex, because like then you can basically kind of come up with certain strategies, really think through what is happening, and as the market is always moving, like strategies change all the time, so you have always
Yeah.
something to think about, and this adds a lot of depth to this very simple core loop.
Yeah. I just think it's also very clever. We've always asked when we have guys from the gaming community on Gunzilla, Bigger, how do you transition your potential audience that's a Web 2 by design into Web 3? And I think you hit it beautifully. I had to do nothing. I still haven't added my accounts or linked my MetaMask account to nothing. I'm just playing and I'm having fun. But now I'm at a level. Well, let me just add. Let me just do. So it naturally progresses me to 1 2. And the minute I click that MetaMask and I link and I start trading, I'm a Web 3 client, and it's a beautiful way of doing it. But there weren't pain points to like frustration of now you got to give your personal details to log in and play and all this nonsense. It was a clever way. Now, one of the questions I want to ask from a revenue standpoint, how does the game actually make money? So let's fast forward. It's launched, and more importantly, how do the players earn, and how do they benefit along the way?
Of course. Yeah. So we have a mix of very traditional revenue streams and some experimental ones which are enabled by blockchain. So let's go over the traditional ones. So we are selling some in-game items that you can just buy with in-app purchases right now. We'll later also add a web shop, so then you don't need to go through the in-app purchase system, but like can just buy it with your credit card or even crypto. And the second part to it is rewarded video ads. So these are optional ads you can watch in order to get certain boosts in the game. And if you don't want to do it, you can also buy a no ads offer. So then all of the ads are basically gone and you still receive the boost. So if you don't want to spend, you basically just need to watch ad. But if it gets annoying, you can buy the no ads offer. So this is the very traditional revenue streams that we are aware of. And then there's like some more experimental revenue streams with something what we call nano fees. So with Web3, we have now a lot of tokens, and we can take very, very tiny fees on certain game interactions. Right now,
Mm.
for example, we trade on every trade that is happening through our game. We take a 1% fee in tokens that get traded. Like, I've never heard any player complaining about it. It's so tiny that they don't care about it, and they're aware of it, but they still like it because they also want to support us. And
Yeah.
with these very small fees, of course, on an individual player, we don't make so much revenue. But if there's a certain scale and there's a certain like kind of long-term engagement of the player, it adds up over time. So we can basically create a lot of like kind of these nano fees here and there in order to kind of still get significant revenue. This is still needs to be tested out. We are still on a test net, so all of the tokens are worthless. But we, of course, have some simulations running, and I think depending on how many users we get and how high the engagement is, it can scale quite well. The beauty about it is that in this case, we are not really selling items to players, and it's not so prone for a pay to win, which is often the case. Like some players just spend thousands and thousands of dollars and then they win, no matter how good they are in the game or
Mm.
how long they play. But with this method, it's more like, okay, everyone gets monetized, but just like very, very tiny amounts that they won't care. And it's for us as a game developer, we are more incentivized to provide a good, engaging game experience that the players are just like spending hours and hours in trading and doing a lot of trades because it's fun, instead of us like trying to identify ways in how we can bring this offer to the players and sell this and that. I think that's way nicer. So we definitely want to double down once we go on mainnet in July this year.
No, it does make sense. You guys are putting in the effort and time, and to retain your staff and to incentivize them to keep evolving, keep playing, and to bring in new types of developers cost money. It costs lots of money, especially in the gaming industry. I look at Gunzilla, and they've got a massive overhead with staff, and the way they kind of retain their clients is keep all clients their staff is the success of the game. They've tied to it in certain ways, so the success equals their success, which means more reward. So they're in it together. They've got skin in the game. But that 1% is really nothing. And I think in crypto, it's we used to paying fees for certain things, provided that we're getting value. And the value, well, it's a free game, and the game is entertaining, and there's potential rewards associated to it. So it makes perfect sense. Can you just loop back and just say, from a player's perspective, how could they potentially generate revenue?
Yeah. So our goal is not so much to touch into the play to earn. We just think that more or less comes naturally. Once you own tokens, you can do whatever you want with them. So we are
Okay.
distancing ourselves a bit from the play to earn side, and we just want to build an engaging experience for the players. But I mean, you can just imagine we have 25 tokens all being tradable. We have one very central currency that is called DynoCoin, which basically facilitates all of these trades. And I guess you can imagine how you might be able to earn money, but that's not our focus. We think Web3 can only be successful if we really focus on the fun aspects and not putting the earn aspects into the front here.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is that your main focus is not to create a play to earn, but to create an ecosystem where, if players choose to gamify and make potential rewards, the environment is there for them to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
you
very cool.
put it nicely.
Good luck with your community chats. It's gonna be buzzing from ear to ear, but yeah, very very cool. All right, so I've been hearing about this NFTs. Now I'm late to the game. I've started a week and a half ago, and I've been playing ever since. I didn't get an NFT. Now I feel cheated because you guys have been around for 2 years or three to 2+ years, and I'm like, I didn't get it. It's a bit expensive to buy one. Do you? is there a disadvantage to not having an NFT, and will it impact, my gameplay significantly?
Yeah, so first of all, you don't need to have any NFT to play the game. So you will always start with free resources, and you can progress very far in the game without any NFT or tokens. Later on, I think there's definitely some advantages of owning an NFT, because the NFTs that we launched, they are basically producing some other raw resources that you can utilize in order to build special materials. But as we have like a market out there, you can also trade your resources from the free pass, from the Earth pass, in order to get like fire and water tokens. These are basically the raw resources that the NFTs produce. So even if you don't have an NFT, you can still trade in your tokens that you grinded for these fire and water tokens as well. That's the beauty about like this whole market environment that we're spanning with the resources. And yeah, we're also planning to release more collections in the future. So we will have more
Okay.
opportunity to buy in very early, and therefore get like one of the next collections that we drop is most likely the air collection. So we have then fire, water, air, and earth, the four elements, and then yeah, you will also be able to buy in early and get one of these NFTs on probably a cheaper level than the fire and water dinos are trading right now.
I look forward to that collection. Ollie, tell me now, you hinted at a bigger ecosystem, Project Voyager, Dynagotchi, crafting tools, and more. How do all these kind of connect to that Voyager universe?
Yeah, so if we look at CraftWorld and kind of the 25 plus tokens that we already launched, and that they are tradable, it kind of spawns something what we call a player-owned economy. So we don't want to interfere with like any of the token supplies and trading and so on and so forth. Like how much does Earth resource cost, or how much does fire resource cost? That's all being done by the players themselves, because like the more there's demand for a certain resource, the higher is its price. And if like, for example, someone produces more of the other resource, the price goes down again. So we want to basically enable this ecosystem, or this feature set of, okay, you can trade these resources, but how the whole market establishes is up to the players themselves. And this can then also break out of CraftWorld. So it doesn't need to be only in CraftWorld. These tokens are living on your wallets, basically. And we can then basically create new game experiences. And that's what we are doing with Project Voyager, and later also DynoGotchi, is that we're using some of the resources that are existing and integrate them just in a new gaming experience. So you can use your CraftWorld resources in Project Voyager, where you can upgrade certain equipment pieces for an engineer that you need to build a starship, and and then you basically get certain resources again from Project Voyager that you can use in CraftWorld. So you want to use this player-owned economy at its core to span like new game experiences that are using and distributing more resources towards the whole ecosystem. And you can also think about like adding like more developers can add more games. So if there's like some third-party developer who thinks like, hey, I want to just tie into the ecosystem, I built an RPG game. I want to create swords for the characters, and I use the steel and the wood maybe from Craftworld, like these resources, in order to build a sword. And then in this RPG game, you fight monsters. You basically earn maybe gold for fighting these monsters. And I put it back into this player-owned economy. So we, as the Craftworld developers, can pick this up again and maybe use gold in order to forge some jewelry or anything else. And this is like kind of the ecosystem we want to spawn, like a universe of
Mm,
games that are all connected through this player-owned economy.
sure. Very ambitious, but I can see all the crafting and forging guys getting ready to craft some of the best weapons to sell, and I can see the rewards from that as well. Because most games, you want the best, you want something that does the work in half the time. So yeah, very cool.
Exactly.
Now, I've been hearing rumors about a shit coin and some in-game fertilizer. I chuckled. It's actually quite hilarious, but also quite brilliant. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Of course, yeah. So that's tying exactly into to what I was saying before. So with Dino it's like a Tamagotchi-like gaming experience.
Hmm.
You will use an AI agent that you need to keep alive, and how
Hmm.
you keep it alive by feeding it resources. And so you can use resources from CraftWorld in order to feed the Dino keeping it alive, making it evolve, and at the same time it produces a token. And what would be the best thing it can produce? Of course, it's shit. So we call it a shit coin. So
It's
then you
ingenious.
can yeah. Then you can basically use the shitcoin that it produces, trade it maybe with other players if you don't want to play other games, but you can maybe use it then in order in Craft World to turn it into fertilizer to basically then harvest or plant some crops that you can then feed again to your Dinocochi. So this way, it kind of shows how like this interoperability between the different games and gaming experiences can work, and can even make it fun. And I think every project should also launch a shitcoin at some point, and that's our take on it.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The
Yeah,
shit coin, it Tamagotchi poops, and bring
exactly.
it all in because yeah, where people have been burnt with shit coins, and so it's just poetic that you're using it as fertilizer. uh,
Yeah.
all right, so let's change gears a little bit and let's talk about some tokenomics. Can you give us a breakdown on the Dino coin? I might be wrong, but I hear that there's an infinite supply, right? Which my brain was like, wait a minute, why? So tell me a bit about the Dino coin and how does it play a role?
Mhm. Yeah, so first of all, DynoCoin is a pure utility token inside our game and ecosystem. It's used for trading all of the resources with each other. So you can trade one resource for DynoCoin and then DynoCoin for another resource. So it basically acts as like kind of a US dollar where you also buy your 32-inch monitor with dollars, and then maybe you sell it again, you get back dollars and buy something else. So it's basically like kind of this like it's here for exchanging goods, right?
Stable coin.
And yeah, you can see it as a stable coin in the ecosystem itself. And therefore, because we feel like it's a utility token and we don't want to launch like a token for, I don't know, governance or anything else like this. We think we are not at the right time. It's not the right stage. We first want to like
Mm.
kind of gain a lot of traction before we launch such a token. So that's why we said like, okay, we just make it a community first token. It's not meant to be any having any financial value, but it is a lot of kind of use cases in our ecosystem, and that's why there will still be demand for it. So it's still valuable to have these Dino coins, but more focus on kind of using it inside the ecosystem. So we don't have any insider allocations. The team doesn't get anything, the investors don't get anything, no KOLs get any allocations. It will all be distributed to Project Voyager, what we talked earlier about. And then we still need to have the flexibility as a game developer to maybe add more tokens as we go, because we need to identify like, okay, how does the economy look like, and what do we need to do in order to keep it stable, and so on and so forth. So that's why we want to kind of leave it open for us to mint as many future Dino coins as we want. But we, of course, always want to make sure that it's kind of has its valuable um, valuableness, I'm not sure if it's the
Yes.
word,
Yeah.
inside the ecosystem itself. So we'll not go crazy and just mint like crazy amounts of tokens. We will be very careful and observing, but we'll definitely don't want to make it a cap supply here, and are very vocal about communicating this as well in order to not set false expectations here.
Okay. What is the amount of tokens that's going to be released, and is that through the airdrop?
Exactly, like through Project Voyager, which is like we call it a second game, but it's basically what you are used to from some other questing platforms out there. So we basically took the questing platforms which are out there and gamified it way more. So
Okay.
it's not just a system; it's an actual game. And depending on how well you do on the leaderboard of this game, there's a campaign running for 4 weeks now where you can basically compete in the leaderboard, and based on your position, you will get a distribution of DynoCoin. And yeah, this runs, I think, a bit more than 3 weeks from now, and then you will basically able to claim DynoCoins and use it in CraftWorld for trading.
And the total amount that's going to be released initially?
It's 1 billion tokens initially.
1 billion tokens. Okay. Is would you keep some back, or would the entire airdrop be 1 billion?
The entire airdrop will be 1 billion, but as I said, like we leave it open, like that we as a company, as a game developer, not we as individuals, we as a team, we don't want to have the tokens. It's more like, okay, do we need more in order to do certain things inside the economy to make it more stable, or to fix certain issues, or maybe use it in the future to do more distributions? That's something we leave open, and we'll decide on when to mint new tokens that we then gonna use.
Yeah, and also if you get to 100 million downloads, you're going to need a lot more Dino coins in the
Exactly.
ecosystem. Or let's just say 200 million. Let's double that.
Yeah.
Olli, I need to rack your brain now. We're approaching the end of the show. So guys that have got in late, that some guys have been playing. I see there's one guy that was on 200 level 272. I'm only on level 227. Like, can you give some tips on a noob coming in right now? What are three top tips to kind of get ahead fast, like little cheat secret? and what is the most common mistake people make when starting? I think that'll give them the edge in wanting to take up and download.
Of course. So maybe as a quick background, so right now the game still runs on a testnet, and we move it to mainnet in July. When we move the testnet to mainnet, the whole progress of everyone will reset. Everyone will start from scratch on mainnet,
Oh,
and this will happen in the middle of July. But it's still a good time to start playing now in order to participate in Project Voyager and basically be eligible for this DynoCoin drop that we are planning to do, because this will give you advantages
okay.
in on the mainnet version of the game. So I would just advise start playing, identify like how you can earn points on Project Voyager. It's not just by playing the game, but also doing social missions, doing cool creator stuff. That's something we value a lot, and be active in the community so you can also earn points there in order to rise in the leaderboard. So that's just like, I think it's a perfect time to start. Get to the leaderboard. You will receive some Dino coins that you can then use to get a head start on the mainnet launch. And some other tips I can give on CraftWorld specifically is that, observe the market. I think you can, of course, progress without actually trading at all. But if you really want to get an edge, look out what's happening out there in the market. Sometimes there's quite some good deals you can execute, and therefore, kind of buy more resources for a cheap price, and therefore, kind of progress faster inside the game itself. So I think that's one of the key things, like really pay attention to the exchange and the resource prices, and identify good trades here.
Some great tips there, Ollie. Thank you very much. So
Yes.
to wrap The wrap-up question is, what does 3 to 6 months look like for you right now, or VOYA Games? And what are you most excited about this next part of the journey?
Of course, right now we are very focused on our mainnet launch. So we have Project Voyager running for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll launch the game on mainnet. So this will be our full focus. We already got a lot of new players joining the game, and always when there's a lot of new players, you will also have like some more issues to fix. So we're working on them and trying to really harden the game so that once we go on mainnet, we have like really like a stable product. So it's a good testing phase. But after the mainnet launch, we will then continue to develop CraftWorld. We shared some ideas to the community a few months back already, like how it could look like. And one of the bigger ideas is to move a bit more into a multiplayer SimCity style of game. So you will be able to build with your community members like whole new villages and cities with the resources that you gain, and then we'll basically create and get like certain bonuses based on the city development and so on and so forth. It matters like where you basically, we already have the world map inside the game. I think you unlock it around level 11 or 12, and you have a special spot in this world map, and it will matter where your spot is because there will be different kind of environmental factors that affects your gameplay. For example, you could be close to a volcano and therefore your fire production is increased, but it's also a risk because it can explode. So you need to decide if you want to be there or not. And we'll launch probably a new NFT collection with the air dinos. We probably also launch like land plots as NFTs, so you can switch your base to different land plots. There's a lot more things. I would advise you to check out our Era 3 presentation. I think you'll find it in our docs or ask in our community. And there's a lot of exciting things to come from there.
Well, we're looking forward to it. So guys, if you're looking for a Web3 game that's fun and addictive and you can play on your mobile phone, all right, I think this is the game for you. There's no barriers to entry. Go click, go play, go have some fun. You take it from a person that doesn't have a lot of time, and I'm running multiple, businesses. It's got me hooked, and I can see the value, and it also challenges me as well from a creative point of view and from an entrepreneurial point of view, believe it or not. So very, very cool, and look forward to that airdrop. Go through to the Voyager site. We'll send all the links in the description below so you guys can participate. There's still 3 weeks. Okay, we missed out on a week. That's fine, but we still got some time to get some of those Dino coins. And Olli, a huge thank you for joining us today, and we wish you all the success for your launch, and may that success be grafted in the stars.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thanks a lot for having me. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun discussing the game with you here. And if you want to check out the game, just download it. That's the best way and how to check it out. Join our Discord community, and as Sean said, it's still early enough to join, and so please come and play the game.
Awesome. Olli, thank you very much. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and to share this podcast with all your friends. Thanks. Take care, guys. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The material and information presented in this recording are for entertainment purposes only. Do not misconstrue what you hear as investment or trading advice. Always do your own research. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the guests on this recording are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of DadsGoneCrypto or its hosts.